little things like that. And I remember talking to my sister, and like it was like Saved by the Bell to us, because we would watch Saved by the Bell when we lived in Cleveland, and that was like a fantasy. And then when we moved there, it was like, wow, people really live like this. Like,
Yeah.
it was like Bayside High, but in.
Hello, welcome to the Unfiltered Mental Health Podcast. My name is Chris Paw.
And I am John Armstrong.
John, we're going to talk about culture shock today.
Yeah.
I read that in a podcast tips. You should say
You can't let him
should say it up front.
No.
This
is organic thought he just came up with.
This is no, there's no organic thoughts here. I can't stress this enough. We're not experts. We don't know what we're talking about. We're figuring this shit out in real time with you. Yeah.
All podcasts.
If you need help, call one of those phone numbers.
Yeah.
Google help me.
988.
988. Producer Sheer knows the number.
What's 988?
It's the mental health emergency line that we are lucky to have here in Cleveland,
Holy shit.
so that they don't necessarily send the cops over to do a welfare check.
Oh, thank God, dude. Did I ever tell you about the wellness check I got where I almost got killed?
No.
Yeah, I was it's when I lived in I've told this story. It's when I lived in Lakewood, and I was just chilling on the couch, and then I hear a knock on my door. I never got, you know what I mean? I didn't know anybody in that building, and so I never got anybody coming over. Heard a knock on the door. I sit up, and before I could even get up to like go to the door and look through the peephole, then I hear a key going in the door and somebody opening the fucking door. So I run over to the door and I'm like, "Hey, what the fuck is you doing?" You know what I'm saying? And it's like a couple cops and a couple firefighters or EMS.
Was like the landlord letting him in? How'd they get a key?
Yeah. She later told me later in the leasing office, I went down there like, "What's up?" And she's like, "Well, when they come over, we have to kind of." So either way, so he's there and he's like, we're doing a wellness check. And I got like the door cracked and I'm like, you know what I mean? And he's like, "We're doing a wellness check." And I'm like, "Well, no, not here. It's because no, you got the wrong place."
I'm well. Get out of here.
He's looking past me, looking into the house, because I'm already kind of deducing that he's thinking I must be there squatting and there's some poor, old lady in the bed who I'm just, waiting for her to die. You know what I mean? Just because he just had this energy of trying to look past me, like whose place is this really? You know what I mean?
We're not checking on this guy.
Yeah, and then this was after that Botham Jean thing happened in Dallas, where the cop went in the black dude's apartment and killed him, and said, "Oh, she thought he was." I'm like, "How did you even get in the apartment?" So anyway, so I literally told him that I was like, "This is how people get killed." And then and he kept asking,
it's like, "Are you threatening me?"
And then he was like, "Is anybody else here?" And I was like, "My girlfriend's here," and she was in the bed. And they was like, "Can we come in?" I was like, "No." It was like, and I just kept. And then finally, because this one I lived in Marine Towers West, and I was like, "Oh yeah." The other thing I asked too, I was like, "Do you know if this person is black or white?" And it was like, "No." I was like, "This is how people get killed," and I'm just trying to tell them, like, you all are in there. And the dude tried to put his hands on me and like and I'm like, "No."
Through the crack.
Yeah, like they're forcing their way in. They're you know what I mean? I'm standing there with just pajama bottoms, no fucking shirt on, and then finally I was like, "You sure it ain't Marine Towers East?" Because there was a Marine Towers East. I live in Marine Towers West. They twin buildings. Ours was apartments. These were condos. He gets on this thing, and then they just silently, like Agent Smiths, walked away.
They didn't say anything. They just turn around and walk away.
They're like women. They will never admit if they're wrong. They're just here to ruin your lives. Look at me dividing the audience further. But so long story long, fucking wellness check, and they're there to fucking check on somebody, but it was just all aggression. It was no tenderness in it. It was no, "Hey, we're here to help you." It's like, we're here to fuck you up.
Yeah, and now imagine that.
So long story long, it's good we have a 988 where you're not sending fucking officers brothers are just there to put a boot up somebody's ass.
Yeah, because aside from the obvious, like, the racial implications, it's also, let's say they got there and it was like a schizophrenic person they were supposed to check on that's screaming at them or something, and they're being aggressive.
Or my autistic son.
Yeah,
his birthday was yesterday. He's cool, he's chill, but even sometimes if he gets a little stemmy, you know, he's a big kid. I mean, well, he's an adult. Yeah. So yeah, and then my girlfriend, who was white at the time.
What?
At the time, she switches. I'm fucking Mystique. but
your girlfriend's Rachel Dolezal.
Oh God. But that was the other thing. That was the other reason why I'm like, don't come in here. Because for one, I mean, she's sleeping in bed, you know, sleeping half naked. And the other thing too is like, I'm not about to put a racial dynamic in this to be, oh, is he holding you hostage?
Yeah.
Like I said, they already had like just his energy of just looking past me. It was just like who's it? Like I'm squatting, you know, like he's looking for the real pictures on the wall. It's like to see some white grandma. Like, I knew it. Who is that? It's like, no, motherfucker.
Yeah, so call 988.
If you don't want to get shot.
Don't ask the cops for help if you're having a mental health crisis. Only if you need help burning your life down further.
Yeah, or if you actually have capital to protect.
Right.
And even then, if you got to be in the circle
of Yeah, we've been meaning to talk about culture shock because I think that's I think it heavily relates to mental health and just how you interact with the world and shit like that. And we both went from like the white or black version of really poor places to the suburbs.
Yeah.
But also those were very different worlds too. Like I grew up in Georgia.
Where in Georgia?
The town, like the county seat was called Somerville. And we lived we moved all over the area. It was like Somerville was like surrounded by smaller, and we lived like on a mountain. Like the nearest neighbors were half a mile away for a while there. And yeah, going from that and like trailer parks in Georgia and shit to the east suburbs of Cleveland.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's like it's not that different. It's just that the kids there have nicer, like their parents buy them more stuff, but they're still like shitty. They're still all like stealing cigarettes and smoking dope and everything.
Kids. Yeah.
Did
y'all have well water?
Yeah.
In Georgia?
Yeah, we did at that place.
That was the thing with me moving from Cleveland. The first culture shock I had was I lived in Indiana for 2 years when I was a teenager. This is when my mom first got with my stepdad. They were together, but they used to have like a long distance relationship. And he's from here, but he worked for GM at the time, and they moved the plant from here to, I believe it was in Marion or Muncie, Indiana, one of those M small towns. But so we ended up moving there, and we was in like a rural area. It was but it was like Anderson, Indiana, which is, we moved there because that was like an hour away from Indianapolis, and they was like, well, at least we'll get you as close to its city as we can. But dude, you want to talk about culture shock? First of all, I've never seen so many Confederate flags in my life. Indiana.
So this is like, it's like a just small town America kind of place. Yeah.
Yes. It was so bad.
This sounds a lot like what Somerville was.
Yeah, it was, but they had, well, some of them had money. Like the area that we moved to, it was nice, but it was still rural. So it wasn't like, you know, but it was still nice just because it was like Bayside High, but in rural ass Indiana. But it was just the thing about it, it was mostly white, and the black kids who were there, because it was like 3 high schools in that town, and we were at the white one. There was a white one that we were at, it was a mixed one, and it was a black one. And we were at the white one apparently. The black one, I guess, was like the hood one. And like so the few black people that would be in each class, for the most part, were like from the other side of the tracks, like hood or whatever. So that was the other thing. I'm moving there from Cleveland, from down the way, from the hood, but now I live in like this nice rural area. But the handful of black people that are there, they're looking at me like I'm some rich black dude who lives, and I'm like, hey, I just fucking got here. First of all, second of all, like your ghetto is like the size of Little Italy, like like here in Cleveland,
Right.
like you got your few blocks of like ooh, and somebody sprayed graffiti, and this is Compton, and it was just like so not only was it like the racist white people there, but the lack of solidarity with the black people there too. It was just like it was. Oh, I was on.
Well, that's
it
what
was a lonely island.
that's what these towns are designed to do is class division.
Oh yeah. It was horrible there.
I mean, not designed to do. I think sometimes it comes from like good intentions of like, oh, we'll have this public school over here that's like for the less fortunate or whatever, but that's not.
Well, that's
how
why
it-
low income housing is bullshit. Even like the liberals who think they mean well, because you're essentially stratifying people out the gate.
You're putting people all in one place,
Yeah.
and then of course they're gonna have like the same culture, and it's gonna be based in being
and who
poor.
wants
And
to ascend to that? That's something that you're always going to want to be coming out of, which means it's going to be a transient thing, which means people aren't going to have roots there, which means it's not going to have as much commitment there by the people.
yeah,
And it just
everyone there is hoping that they're just passing through.
yeah, it just creates an air of no community.
Yeah,
and you're dealing with people who are in financially dire straits, so they're probably dealing with other things too, and it just breeds an environment that's not.
yeah, and I mean, like trailer park, like that's why it's such. In reality, it should be like looked at more of a class thing.
Yeah,
Because like trailer parks aren't that different than projects. Like I've lived
concentration of
in both.
poverty.
In Georgia, there was a time where we lived. It was called Wilmot Street, and it was one street of low income housing, and it was mostly elderly white people.
Yeah,
But it was like half, and then it was like there were black people and then like poor white people all on the same street. But yeah, there were these like pockets of that, whether it was a trailer park or like a street full of apartments that were that kind of thing. And yeah, it's the same thing. It's like it's not being black, but it's those are the kids from Wilmot Street.
yeah.
It's the same kind of like class aspersions that are
Yeah, you
that
just
are in
get
there. It's
classified
just-
as. I mean, even growing up in Cleveland, like where I grew up, they used to call that down the way, and that was like, even in terms of living.
down the hill from Cleveland Heights. Is that where that comes from?
No, it's more down the. It's more down the way. Everything that's getting towards downtown. So you had like
Oh, okay.
like Cedar, Central, Quincy, Huff,
Yeah.
like all that shit was like down the way.
I spent a lot of time in
'Cause
Collinwood.
up the way was East Cleveland, so I think it was like being measured from downtown.
I spent a lot of time in Collinwood. Like my dad lived in Collinwood, like on off of St. Clair, in like the 130s,
That shit was
140s.
far away to us. Like that was like you might as well have been on the other side of the.
That's why, because over there we called it. It was like up the way because it was up the hill into Cleveland Heights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It's backwards because north is towards the lake, which should be up. But yeah. But also in Georgia, we did have so Somerville was not. We didn't have enough people for more than one high school. Like there were several middle schools, but the high school was like
That's when you start
the
losing
big
people.
one.
They're like,
Yeah.
all these. Obviously,
That's
all these people in
exactly
middle school aren't gonna make it to high school.
yeah, or all the way through high school. So we would have like a freshman class of like 700 or 800 kids, and then by 12th grade it was like maybe 100.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was. I wouldn't quote those numbers. Nobody cares Somerville. But we did have.
Nobody cares. It's Somerville.
Yeah, we did have a hood where like was mostly like where black people mostly lived. That was like 6 or 8 blocks. It was
Yeah.
like one part of town, and you stay away from there. And it was like such a small area, though.
They're gonna rob you for your shitty clothes.
Yeah,
It's just too poor.
they're gonna take your Payless pump up sneakers.
Oh God.
But by and large, like people weren't. Nobody was really rich or any, like there were no rich kids, but everyone put on airs.
Oh yeah.
And the people
I
that
didn't know
couldn't afford to put on airs were like the shitty, oh, you're the poor kids and shit.
I didn't know. I've talked about this before, but I didn't know. Like, oh yeah, it wasn't until I moved to Indiana that I didn't know that you were supposed to pay for lunch because everybody got.
Oh,
lunch
like
for
the whole
free.
school.
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
always be like it would be like maybe 1 or 2 people in class who would pay for lunch, and I still remember. I kind of was putting it together that it was financial, but one of the other things, it was like they were always the better dressed kids. They were always the more behaved kids too. I remember this one girl. I ain't gonna say her name, but not that she's listening. But yeah, I will. Shayla. It was this girl, Shayla. She always pretty. Like she always like lotion on her face, and hair was done, and they were Jehovah's Witnesses. So I thought that was a thing too. Like oh, so, like basically like a military, like you had to be in something to be having to pay for lunch. It was like, oh, they're the Jehovah's Witnesses with the nice clothes, so that's why they pay. But none of us paid for lunch. So when I got to Indiana, and I was like, why do we have to pay for lunch? And I remember we had to buy our books and pay something else. And I remember asking my mother, I was like, this public school, right? She was like, yeah. I'm like, well, why do we got to pay for all this shit here when we didn't have to do that? And it took me, she didn't immediately just tell me, but it took me a while to, it's like, oh, we were all on welfare. But like to your point, putting on airs, I remember being in the store and having that book of food stamps, and when somebody would come in, I would just pretend I wasn't buying anything.
Yeah, you hide it.
Not knowing that we were all on fucking welfare.
Yeah.
But I'm embarrassed because I think we're the only one in the ghetto with food stamps.
I do in Georgia at least. I there was definitely like everyone knew who the poor kids were.
Yeah.
And so it was like definitely something you wore on your sleeve or lack of sleeves or whatever. But right before high school was the grunge period, and that shit was so awesome for me because you looked like you were intentionally looking poor at this point. Like once you got into that, and that like kind of helped me find a friend group.
That whole Mark Zuckerberg, Kanye West, like let me just stretch out this shirt and charge $1,000 for it. It's like the poor aesthetic finally has landed.
Yeah, all you
in
really had to
fashionable
spend. You could thrift store, get shit at the thrift store. You only had to come up with like a pair of Vans or like Airwalks or something at the time to like blend in and look like you were just like it was a style on purpose.
Cruelly, simultaneously, in the 90s, that is when urban hip hop streetwear started to take off and get more and more expensive. So you got all these poor kids, and now you got to have the Jordans, and then you got to have we were talking about this before.
I remember even the white kids in Somerville, like they all had Jordans and shit. Like I remember the first ones, and I was like,
That was when Tommy Hilfiger took off, and
Yeah.
Nautica and Polo, and everybody was wearing that. Because that was the other thing when I transferred and went to that school in Indiana, it was so weird. Those they just dress like bums. I was like, why do they dress like? I was like, people dress better. Like, am I fucking? Now you could tell who was poor, but the thing was, as I was going into from middle school up into high school, like this is when also like we started getting in trouble. So I started like stealing, and then all my friends started selling drugs and stuff like this. So we started having our own money, so you could dress. So that is why, even though we were in this poor school, there were like pockets of people who we were still dressing good, because between you either start getting money on your own, or there's just like there was like people call boosters, like people who would just go steal a bunch of shit and then resell it in the hood so you could get
Yeah.
stuff at a discount. So it was just an underground economy that.
I definitely remember trading a bag of weed for some Converse sneakers, some All Stars.
Yeah, it was like where there's a will, there's a way, and I didn't realize till I got older that when you're poor, you're projecting your wealth. So of course I'm wearing Jordans with this polo shirt and these Jabot jeans because we're fucking broke. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But when you don't want to look broke when you are broke, so and that was the thing. We get to this white ass school, and everybody is but coincidentally this is when grunge, and all that, so everybody is ripped jeans, flannels tied around their waist,
Yeah,
just
or
fucking
Air Jordans and
yeah. And the
yeah.
other thing too that I never witnessed, I did a joke about this, I s- but like, yeah, people would wear sandals to school. That just blew my mind. Like, how are your toes out in school? It was like the first time I saw somebody with jeans and boots at the gym. Like, you can do that?
Yeah, you could be health secretary.
Like, it's like, kick this dude out of here, man. But it was, yeah, so it was so much shit, dude. Culture shock. It was so much shit.
Yeah, going from it's hard because I didn't go to a physical school when I moved back to Ohio. Like, I had already dropped out.
Oh,
I
okay.
went to Willoughby South for a little while, but I was like 18, like not quite 18, 17, but in like ninth grade classes were picking up where I left off. So my thing at that point was more, I was annoyed with like the 14-year-old, like
Yeah.
13, in the ninth grade stuff. But
Well,
I
got
had
help.
also by that point, I'd had like all my like my doors, like my band T-shirts and all my cool grunge alt goth person shit. So yeah, that's a great way to be broke and blend in the suburbs. Because you're also going, fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Fuck you,
And
man.
in Somerville, we didn't, like the grunge, like in a city, in a proper city, you would have like a punk and a metal, like separate scenes for all these things. We didn't have enough people for that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we were like
for
a
the big-
hodgepodge of all of it, and you would like, everybody was cool. Except for skinheads. We didn't like skinheads, but some of those guys probably are Trumpers now, though,
Oh yeah.
that I was around.
Some
But
January Sixers in there for sure. Well, maybe not, unless they made something of themselves. Because ironically enough, a lot of those January Sixers were actually small business owners. And
oh
shit
no,
like
I
that, like people
mean,
with money.
like a bunch of them grew up as punk kids and
Yeah.
shit, and they
Okay.
think small
Oh,
government
yeah,
equals
yeah.
equals anarchy and punk, but they're stupid.
Yeah, I remember I got held back in the 8th grade because that's when I started cutting school a lot. So then the next year, I was supposed to be in high school, but so then I transferred from here to Indiana. So I'm in the 8th grade there again, and I had to finish that up. And then I did the 9th grade. I remember the name of the high school because that was when Beavis and Butthead came on, and it was the same high school, Highland High. And I did a year there, and then I came back because I would always come back to Cleveland in the summertime. And I came back in the summer, and I was like, I'm not going. I can't go back there. It's so bad. So I'm staying with my aunt, and I'm just like, and then my mother comes to get me, and I'm like, "Well, no, I'm not going." So then they just go back, and I'm like, yeah, like I'm gonna just live with my aunt, like, and so I'm just living with them, and I still remember this was when this was the day that they opened the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because we're watching it on TV, and we didn't have no fucking food, and we literally was waiting for her to get like her food stamps, and we were eating crackers and boiled ribs. We were down to like the last little bit of food, and I remember we're watching on the TV them doing it was Mike White. They were doing the opening ceremony for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like, oh, it's gonna be great for Cleveland. This was 1995, and my uncle came, knocked on the door, and he had this Greyhound ticket. He was like, "Your mama said you got to go home." And I remember he threw it in my chest. And then, that day I had to ride the Greyhound from here to Indiana, and I get there, and I had missed so many days in the school year already that I couldn't go back to high school, so they put me in an alternative school, and then I did that for a few months, and then we ended up moving back here,
Oh
and
man.
I was supposed to go to John Hay, but by then one of my good friends had got killed, and my other friends were in jail, and I didn't want to like get back into the shit that I was getting into before I had moved. So I was like, I'll go to South with my cousin where it's, where at least it'll be a new start. But then I go there and I get back in the bad habits and start cutting school again. I'm not going to school, and like blah blah blah. And so I signed up for Cleveland Job Corps, and I got accepted there. And I didn't have anywhere to live, so I just started living there. And they give you tests when you get there to see where you place because you get your GED and you're supposed to get a trade. And I took the test, and I was always smart, so I tested out of everything. So I just was on a waiting list, and a couple months later, I got my GED, and I was just done with school. So that's why I literally didn't go to high school.
Yeah,
I did. That's a long way to say. I did because sometimes people are here like I don't know. Since I talk proper, some people think like, what high school or what college? No, dude, I have last grade I finished was the ninth, and even that was cheating. like,
yeah.
like I did not go to high school.
I didn't either. I couldn't.
Is the podcast starting to make sense, America? We're not educated at all. We're just running on opinions and vibes. No wonder we don't know shit about women. Well, okay.
Opinions, vibes, and the memories of 45-year-olds that have been smoking weed since they were 10.
But that was the other thing too. I want to say this really quick. Speaking of this podcast and how we were talking about just relationships and how we deal with women and attachment styles and all this other shit. But like that's the thing. Not having went through high school, those formative years really fucked up my socializing. You know.
So
what I mean?
I would imagine college too.
Yeah, because that's when everybody like learns everything. And here's the other thing too. It was so fucked up because I had this arrested development with women. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I had a girlfriend and stuff like this, but I wouldn't get it in like other people was. But in the other way, like I said, like I used to get in trouble. We used to run the streets. Like I used to just be out. So I grew up really quick in like a poor criminality, just seeing a lot of shit. Like I said, one of my good friends got murdered. I was in juvenile court. I almost got locked up. The only thing that really saved me was moving to Indiana because they were about to lock me up because I had already got a charge of breaking, entering, theft, and that was on top of some other shit that I had. Which all these felony charges kept me out of the Navy, people. This was before 9/11 when you couldn't have anything, even on your juvenile record. But they changed that once they started having recruiting problems. But same with the tattoos and swastikas and all that.
Yeah.
Just come on in, we don't care. Yeah. But no, so I grew up really quick in that way. That's why sometimes people would be surprised because I don't come across that way. But I've been around a lot of criminality. I've done a lot of shit. I've been arrested more times than I can count. I've been in damn near every precinct, first, second, fourth, fifth district, downtown. Yeah, like so. But growing up really quick that way. But then when it came to pussy, just like I don't
Well,
know. I'm used to being around guys and selling crack. I'm looking at it.
I mean, for me, it's because I did have a girlfriend and then got her pregnant, and like we were both just fucked up people, just
Yeah.
latched onto each other for several years. Yeah, I didn't. So I was a terrible student because in the 6th grade I got my first C, and nobody punched me in the face for it. And it was
you're
like one of the few things I didn't get punched in the face for. So I was like, oh, I can slack off in this area. Like, here's an area where I have a little bit of freedom. And I finished, like through 8th grade, then went to high school. But that's when I, like, that summer, well, that year, my stepdad died. Right after I wished he would. I had like an aunt pass away like a week later. So that year was like I was really, it was like a weird fucking time, and I started smoking weed, and then went to. I think I finished 3 classes that year, like the ones I was interested in: history, English, and science. I got good grades in those 3 and like zeros and everything. I just went to the other classes and just slept. But yeah, I dropped out. That was it. I went to a little bit of 10th grade, but by then, because I lived on the mountain, I could use the bus to get into town. So I would go to school on a day if I needed to get into town, and then I would either leave right away or just hang out to the end of the day, and then I would be in town for a week to do drugs and whatever.
Dude, the freedom. I used to love cutting school so much. I used to just love doing shit that anybody else wouldn't do. And that's the other reason I was such a night person. I just like doing something when everybody else is over here. So I used to love just cutting school because like, just the feeling of it. Like the day just felt different. Like everybody, the grown-ups are all doing their thing. All the kids are in school and oh, it was so addictive, dude. I used to love cutting school so much.
Like 14, 15, 16, I was hanging out with the stoner group, but we were doing meth and pills and like everything. Like it was like 3 years of nothing but drugs after years of whatever was going on at home. And then we moved to the suburbs out here, and I was like, these kids are pussies, dude. Like, no one's doing meth. They're like, you can't find it.
In Indiana, I wasn't doing any drugs. I never did drugs, honestly. It wasn't until Job Corps that I really started smoking weed, and I drank then, but I didn't really drink just because I hated how it felt to drink, and it was just kind of gross to me. So it was just weed and Black and Miles or cigarettes, and the occasional like a 40. Well, we did do that. I would drink like a 40, but it was nowhere near like how I like. No, it was no whiskey, no, you know what I mean. It was straight up like ghetto shit like that, either a 40 or some MD 2020 or something like that. But I don't know.
Yeah, and then once we moved here, I did try to go back. I went to Willoughby South for like half a year, and it just wasn't.
Yeah,
it was just not happening. And then
ain't it fun when you finally let go? Like, what? We don't have to do this.
Yeah, this is dumb.
Well, that was the other thing too. Is like once you get used to not going to school, you can't go back because it just doesn't fit anymore. It's like a left shoe on a right foot. I
did get my GED like the day I married my pregnant girlfriend. It came in the mail the same day.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
I'm a man,
19.
honey.
Yeah, and then your college years, or what would be your college years, are like you're raising an infant.
I did a couple like semesters of community college, but then I stepped away from that. Like, what am I doing? Because that was the other thing. Like, I was smart, but I just never applied myself. But again, not having went to high school, I didn't realize once I got to college, like, and this is Tri-State Community College. I didn't, uh, I didn't realize most of the work is at home. I'm paying y'all all this money. I didn't seen all these movies. Fucking get in front of that big ass whiteboard and learn me something, professor. But then you go in there and they're just like, okay, you need to buy these books. All right, here's a chapter. We're gonna read a few lines of this, and then you're gonna go home and read a chunk of this, and then write this much. But it's not due for 6 weeks. So of course, my procrastinating ass. Oh, and the other thing, and I didn't know how to type. Because again, I didn't go to high school.
Yeah.
So all
well, also you didn't. We didn't use computers in school like that. You had computer class. It was one class.
that was the other. That's me and Chris's age, America. That's the other thing. When it transitioned to the internet and computers, Patrice O'Neal famously had this joke where he would tease guys who knew how to type because he thought he was gay, and then you wouldn't have to use it when you're an adult. And now everything is fucking computers, and now I don't know how to type.
Yeah, who's gay now?
Yeah. Which, ironically enough, I only learned how to type through fucking texting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you ever? I had a, I had a period. I once I found this house. I was land surveying for a long time. We like measured houses for banks, and I found a big box of books in front of this house, like these rich people's house, and a bunch of them were like textbooks. So there was like science and psychology textbooks and stuff, and I thought I was fucking Goodwill Hunting all of a sudden. Like I'm reading these at home.
How to serve humans. I wonder what this means. Fucking.
Yeah, I read all these textbooks, and I'm like, man, I don't have to go to college.
You know what? It's funny.
I can just read.
Growing up in Cleveland, like the house I grew up in, it was a duplex. And all those houses were like old. They were century homes, even back then, or damn near at that point. But so in the basement, like we would play around in the basement, and it was like the one part of the basement that you go in where the washer and dryer is, and just all that. And then the rest was just unfinished and shitty, and you're not supposed to go through it. But of course, as kids, you know, oh, it's an adventure. And I remember that it was so old that there was an old coal stove in the basement, so we would just go fuck around in there. And then there was this other room, and they had all these like it was just all these chests and all this old stuff. And you know, like when you're a kid, oh, we're on an adventure and we're doing all this shit. But I remember opening up one of them, and they had all these old books, and it was from like the early 1900s, like the 1920s or some shit. And it was some kids like schoolwork, you know what I mean? And then like old school books and shit like that. So I didn't have a Goodwill Hunting thing like that, but it was more like time capsule, like some kid wrote this in the early 1900s.
That exact same story is how I found comic books in one of my neighbor's boxes that were in the shared basement.
A box of books in the 80s, dude. Fucking, it could be schoolwork. It could be your first porn that you see. Like, people were stashing books, man.
They were, yeah.
My mom, she was in school to be a nurse, so I used to like I said, I had like an inquisitive brain, so like I would always just read her books, like her biology books and all this other stuff. So so when I did get into certain stuff or certain aspects of science, it wasn't as foreign because some of that shit I would just read for fun. But I didn't realize like until I got older, like it's the same reason I like sci-fi movies. I used to want to be a doctor when I was a kid. You know what I mean? I wanted to do so. I just like science. It's and as I get older too, I have an autistic son, realizing how neurospicy I am. It's like, oh, you just have a very black, white, rigid brain. I like, you know, logical and just shit that makes sense, concrete stuff. So I would float towards that. But I always had like a inquisitive mind towards that. I remember my mom, she had this book. I told this story before. Our Bodies Ourselves. It was this feminist book just about women and knowing your body. And then, but they had this one small chapter on sex, and it had these drawings, and it was depicting sex. And that was my first fucking porno mag, because I would be like jerking off in the pictures. Like, that's all I had growing up in a house full of women. Like this is the closest I get to fucking this. Is this drawn dude fucking this fucking drawn pussy?
Yeah, I was always reading too. Like it's uneducated. I don't think I'm stupid, but I'm not as emotionally intelligent as I once thought I was.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That's another one that's like when you do have a decent amount of knowledge about the world, when you realize how emotionally like how uneven it is. It was like, oh, that's gross.
Yeah, yeah.
I think maybe that's why nerds come across as so like repulsive to women, because it's like, who cares if you know this much about stuff if you're just so clueless on this side of it? Like,
Yeah.
oh god. I don't know. My another culture shock though I had was, so after Job Corps, I get kicked out of there because I was living there, and then that's when I moved to Aurora. Now this second iteration of me being around like white people was different, because the Indiana iteration was like these country and just fucking racist, and like and if they weren't being racist, they were just being very scary. I remember this one girl, she was come on the bus, and like when I was in Cleveland, we rode the bus, like you were packed in on the bus. It was at least two people to a seat, if not three.
Yeah.
Here it was like mostly you could get away with having your own seat, and then sometimes some friends sat together. So every now and then, and that was the other thing. In Cleveland, it was 3 bus stops. It was a pack of niggas here, pack of niggas here. There in the country, we're stopping at every fucking corner.
Oh yeah,
everybody. I'm like, Jesus, this is taking forever to get to fucking school. And I remember this girl would get on, and if all the seats were full, she would sit next to me, and then we would ride to school. And we wouldn't say anything to each other, but as soon as the bus stopped and everybody would get off, she would just turn to me like, I'm sorry, sit in your seat, and then like run off. So it was just this weird energy with white people there. But then when I moved later after Job Corps and I moved to Aurora, it was like, so this is late 90s. So rap has like taken over, and then it's like Papa Roach, Limp Bizkit, all that shit. So like white and black,
everybody's cool.
So and these are upper middle class kids, and like I'm in Aurora, but a lot of the kids I'm dealing with is
I think Fred Durst should get the credit that Martin Luther King Jr. gets.
They both fucked the same amount of white women. But so it's a bunch of Solon and Aurora kids, and this is upper middle class kids, and that's why that joke I do, like my Fresh Prince of Bel Air years, because it literally felt like that.
Yeah,
like it was just I had never been around kids with money. Like I mean, ironically enough, I'd had, but those were like drug dealers.
Solon is very much a different level of suburb than like the east suburbs, northeast suburbs here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That whole little enclave, that Solon, Aurora, Bainbridge, like those because I delivered pizza when I lived in Aurora. Those developments, I talked about this. Like Barrington, it was you literally needed a code to get past the gate, and fucking Jim Tomey lived back there. A couple people from Bone Thugs and Harmony. You know what I mean? Like people with money lived back there. Like so, it was. Although you did have Aurora East, which was like trailer park over here, and then you had
there's always pockets of
and then
white people.
They used to call areas. that the hood of Aurora.
They need people to run the convenience stores and stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, when I worked at Cernan and Sons, like the white people who worked there, it wasn't the white kids from Solon and Aurora. It was the ones from like Rootstown and Ravenna and all that shit. But it was like but that whole experience there, it was weird because at first I'm just, sticking to myself. But then this dude I worked with when I worked at Papa John's delivering pizza, he like showed me around everywhere. I've told this story before. I feel like I'm telling these same stories. But like he was super cool and we would hang out. But at a certain point, I don't know. Those kids, a lot. He was cool. He was a good guy. I ain't shitting on him. But like, at a certain point, you start feeling like a mascot because you're like the black guy and then the cool guy, and then the way the girls act towards you and stuff like that. It's cool, but like, I imagine that's how I used to. It's like having big titties. Like it's cool and yay, people like your big titties. But then after a while, it's like, okay, I have big titties. I get it. And then after a while, it's like, okay, I get it. I got big titties. And then so sometimes it's too. And then sometimes people will hate you for your big titty, like you big titty bitch. You think you're better than us because you got big titties. So that's how it was. Malcolm X talked about that. I read his autobiography, one of the best books. You want to talk about a person on on a journey of self-discovery. But he talked about that, like being in an all-white school, and he just felt like a mascot. You didn't even if they weren't being like mean to you, it was still and the racism with upper middle class people is way more layered. That's why I didn't.
There's like
it didn't feel as in your face as the
I imagine
Indiana shit.
it's a layer of like, hey, good for you for being here, buddy.
Dude, you know how many times, like I remember one time I was at my parents' house and somebody rang the doorbell, and we rarely get, again, don't know who the fuck we are. And so I opened the door, and then and it was these kids, and they was selling something. It was little white kids, and it was the same energy as the wellness check. It's like white people for some reason always want to look past you. They're looking past me, just looking in the house, like. And he was like, "You live here?" And I was like, he was like, "This is you." I was like, "Well, yeah, but this isn't this is my parents' house." And this was back at, oh yeah, again, this is fucking Limp Bizkit. This is like MTV Cribs. So like, and Bone had lived in our development too. One of them lived in our development too. Cause they for some reason they was living in Aurora. So if you seeing black people, they're either athletes or entertainers. So I
gotta tell you something
Afro
though.
having ass, I come to the door and they're like, "Are you ludicrous?" Because they have there's no other at the time. It's more black now.
I gotta tell you though, living in Cleveland in the suburbs, every black dude I ever talked to in the suburbs of any side of this town has a story that will tell you they're one of those guys' uncles.
Yeah. Well, I remember my cousin told me that he was like, well, he found out that we were removed so many from being flesh bone cousin, and he was like, dude, everybody in Cleveland is related to Bone. yeah, it becomes one of those things. Yeah, that was an interesting time though, man. And all of that culminating like late 90s into the early 2000s, and just where we were culturally, where we were as a country, even dude, fucking before and after 9/11, just like I don't think people realize like the psychological, like shit really wasn't the same.
No one talks about this, but it fucked millennials up.
Yeah.
Like I was 20.
That is a deep psychic wound, dude.
I was 20.
I will cling
20 years
to
old.
my Gen Xness. I will not acquiesce to you, millennials.
Being in your late teens, early 20s, on the cusp of millennial, Gen X, whatever, older millennials, younger Gen X, it's really entering adulthood the same time as 9/11 was such an insane time, and we kind of talk about it like it was one event, but it shifted like everything about the world.
Yeah. And nothing's been the same since, and it normalized a bunch of shit. Fucking Patriot Act and all this shit. I'm gonna hold it. Patriot Act and all this shit that happened after that, and what we just had to get used to.
Yeah.
Country.
I think you just gotta hold it. We only got 10 minutes left.
No, but that was like the psychic wound of that, like of what happened. I remember even like I was watching this thing. You ever watch on YouTube Cracked?
Yeah.
And they were talking about like sitcoms and how like the laugh track kind of went away after 9/11. Just little shit in pop culture that
it
just changed.
shifted. There was a shift towards like we already had reality TV, but it got more degrading and weird and
One sensationalized because on the one end you had like the Flavor Flav and I Love New Yorks and all that shit, and then on the other side, I remember that's when like the American Idols and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
yeah, where
started
you
becoming,
could become a rich, one of the chosen if you did
which
well
now
at this thing.
with like FanDuel and all this other shit being legal, it's just this place has become more and more of a casino. I mean, it always was, but it's so masked off with the late stage capitalism that it's like it's just I don't know. It's and we're seeing it through our lens, but again, to be in our mid 40s now and to have taken the journey that we took, growing up poor in the 80s, experiencing the cultural like change of the 90s, and then just this post 9/11, post war, not even post war because we're in it, but this whole Middle Eastern thing and George Bush and then the Obama years and then the Trump years. It's just like,
It's all been one big shit show.
dude, dude.
It's been awful.
And again, like it's such a before and after with 9/11 because then you got the internet blowing up more and then smartphones and social media coming together at that same time and just everything is so much
my oldest,
different now, man.
my son was born a week before 9/11. So I gotta, no, the week after. So I'm in the in the hospital, still reading about what happened on 9/11 with a baby, and he graduated high school during COVID.
Jesus.
And yeah, it's
All
like
he knows is pain.
yeah. No, I didn't learn about attachment styles or trauma during that, like how to fix my own trauma, but in between those things.
Well, my son, like, he just turned 25 yesterday. So I remember 9/11 and coming home and his mom was together back then and him just pushing him in the stroller, walking through the neighborhood, just seeing like, you could just see everybody reacting in like real time. And this is before, cell phones that took off and social media and stuff like that. So it was still an on the ground kind of feeling of it.
Yeah.
Which is good. Can you imagine if that shit happened now while like with social media and just like
the conspiracy
echo chamber?
theories
Oh my
and
God.
the blaming and a kid would before those buildings even hit the ground, there would be a civil war.
Yeah, oh my God. Which, by the way, I'm in the shittiest of shitty 9/11 conspiracy, so I don't claim to be above it.
It really is.
Shit.
Like as far as culture shock, the world before and after that,
Yeah,
like it's insane.
I remember my mom telling me when it happened, and she was like, this reminds me of when JFK got shot, because she was like, it was this same feeling of like everything stopped. This is all everybody was talking about, and nothing was the same after this.
Yeah,
you know.
Imagine if that happened now. The parties.
If it did, it'd be staged. It'd be another
fake one.
Oops, a mosquito bit my ear. Oh
no. Yeah, I think 9/11 was the ultimate culture shock. I don't know, like. I don't know, man. It's weird because it's like my kids are like people up to like 30-ish wouldn't remember it,
Yeah.
Like it doesn't. They just don't look at it the way that you do if you were entering adulthood at that time.
Yeah,
I mean also
they just get to see the remnants of it and grow up with that.
Look at the psychological effect it's had on these people in a lot of red state, like. They are still terrified of Muslims. Still,
dude, and the people who are
hatred fuel.
Why am I holding this, America? I just realized I could sit that down. I just realized that. Again, I didn't go to high school. The culture. You talk about culture shock. Who's the guy who just won the Democratic primary in Michigan?
Sad.
Yeah. And then of course Mondami and
Yeah, they're terrified of that. They still,
and the thing I hate about it, that it's I mean this is people
is that
can't
those guys were like 8 on 9/11.
well not even so much that it's like Barack Hussein Obama and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It's cartoonish that yay I like these candidates, you know what I mean, but it seems like the Democrats come up with the most like Tyrone McBlackens. Like you get what I'm saying, like and so every time I hear conservatives like say any of these politicians names, you could just feel the vitriol they have. Like, they hate even saying it. Like why do I even have Muhammad? Like why do I even have to say this name? But on the other side of it, the Democrats are just so comically, the Washington General is just like, it's like, okay, well, we'll run somebody, but they're going to have to be this is the most nigga name you ever heard of.
We're going to run Jerome fucks fat white women Jenkins.
Washington the third. Fucking the Key and Peele skit fucking with the football players. It's just like.
They literally, Herschel Walker, the most brain damaged guy they could find.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. That's the other thing too. Just with politics and everything being so masked off, and some of these, DSA, Democratic Socialists of America candidates winning, and just seeing centrist Democrats. Boy, they
so upset.
They put up a hell of a fight when anybody on the left gets in. He tried to, even the way they got Bernie Sanders back in the day, and when he won the primary, but they still propped up shitty ass Hillary. And it's like when Trump can run rampant and do all this.
Yeah,
shit,
they challenge.
Toothless. They're like, we don't have any. Soon as somebody a socialist or somebody is about to come in, they just. Yeah, we got all these resources to throw towards them. We go do this or that, and or if they elect you, we just won't honor their vote. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they'll pull all the stops out, but they don't know what
yeah.
to do about Mitch McConnell's fucking weekend at Bernie's ass. Which supposedly he's been discharged from the facility that he's in, and now he's at home, Ronnie.
Oh, that's good.
Now he's at home.
That's good for him.
Yeah,
I'm glad he's okay.
Imagine the stench coming off of that. That walrus thing he got going down here. Like, how long you think it's gonna take that to decay?
It'll peel off. It'll turn soft pretty quick.
You know how like camels, they used to say that's water, but it's really just a patch of fat. That's what Mitch McConnell got. That was the last thing. Like,
I'll tell you from experience, it will just whoosh, just fall away.
Chris picks up the day in America.
Yeah, I do that
illegally for a living.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be there.
So, have you had any significant like culture shocks like in your beyond your 20s?
Getting into comedy.
Just in general, you know what I mean? Like,
no, I'm saying getting into comedy was one. I think.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I expected more cocaine, and there's only some. No,
you gotta get with them Rogan comics. I'm sure they got some.
Yeah, I mean, like Columbus and Cleveland are very different cities. Overall and comedy wise, I don't know. I mean, I think because like we did summers in the country, or we went to school in the country in Georgia. We were in Collinwood all summer, and then I lived in the suburbs. Like I've kind of lived all the area, like the different kind of areas we have here in America. So it's more. Man, most of my problems are internal.
Well, I used to tell people that is one of the things that's like it's kind of your origin story of a comic, and it's what makes you be a comic. Is I notice everybody who I've noticed who's a comic and who's like at least
A
good comic is like is you have something happen in your early formative years to where your life flips.
You're just not stable people.
Yeah. So, something happens to take you from one environment to another, and that's why you see like army brats or people of divorce or people who
I think
moved, people who go from a rich area to poor area, people who had money. Uh, who had money and lost it, or people who didn't have money and then got it. But when you get to see like contrast at that early stage of your still developing brain, and you just develop a cheat code for pattern recognition.
Yeah. If you move around a lot and shit, you're also like you very much become like more of an observer to everyone else. If you're like alienated in any way, move around a lot.
There's nothing that you cling to, so all this is a show.
Yeah, you're looking at everything like, what are these people doing? This is weird.
Carlin talked about that. I'm just here
funny.
watching the show. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes you out of being a real person when you have all this weird shit going on when growing up.
Well, it's kind of one of those reasons people tell you to travel too, because one of the things I used to always tell people is like, I realize, I mean, I'm off by number. I'm just throwing a number out there, but there's like 12 different people out here, period. Young, old, black, white, male, female, rich, poor. There's 12 persons, and once you've been in enough rooms to see different people, you're like, oh, that's the jock, that's the shy person, that's the
what?
That's that. That's why even like when we talk about politics and a lot of these people, we're talking about like new conservatives and stuff, and we're talking about pick-me's and stuff like that. It's like you're not even ideologically agreeing with these people. You're just you're doing a level of like it's something
you're
in here
assimilating culturally.
Yeah, and you could just again just the pattern recognition. I just know what this person is doing, and it's not like some clairvoyant type shit. It's like, no, I've been in crack houses where people do this, I've been in trailer parks where people do this, I've been in $1 million house where people do. I've seen this fucking thing happen in so many different people that I could just, like we were saying on the other podcast, where you could just smell it a mile away when the dysfunction is coming through the door. Because I've felt a rich person say it to me, and I've seen a crackhead say it, and it's the same fucking energy, dude.
Yeah,
and that's how you get good at comedy. Have a shitty childhood. Get kicked around a little bit, America.
You guys are at an hour too.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's I lost my train of thought. Yeah, there are only so many personality types, but I also like, I think I've been guilty of or just fallen into overdoing that, where I don't treat people enough like individuals.
Oversimplifying,
oversimplifying people, and
I've been guilty of that.
Because within those 12, they get mixtures. They they all have two parents that are two different kinds.
There's Venn diagrams and stuff. I guess that is a really good point. That is a really good point. That's a level of me being lazy and reducing somebody down to something to fit what I want to. So that's a really good point.
I mean, it's
a revelation right there.
It's a good, and like tying this all the way back to like CPTSD and the like different ways of growing up and shit, and around instability or whatever the case is, you become those impulses are not necessarily bad.
Yeah, like
the hypervigilance you get like in relationship, like all those things are just coping survival strategies your nervous system comes up with, and they're not necessarily bad. You just have to learn how to refine them and react to them better, and work with them.
The whole thing of like when you're grieving or sad, am I crying like to acknowledge my feelings, or am I at a certain point, am I sulking and laying in it? You know what I mean? You gotta have that.
There's a balance.
It's like it's okay to have these feelings, but don't live in it. You know what I mean? Acknowledge it, but don't.
Yeah,
it's hard, man. I don't know. As far as culture shocks for me in my adult life, um, I've had a few just as the older I've got, just renting all around the city and just seeing how different people react to you. But overall, I think all the big stuff got out of the way by the time I was early 20s. That's when I was like, oh,
Do you still? I still, even now, I feel very uncomfortable in really nice places where they're like,
oh well. One of the reasons I moved downtown is like my building is decent. You know what I mean? It's one of the nicer places I've lived, but I did get to a place to where I was telling people like, because growing up in the hood, it's the thing is to move to the suburbs. You made it. You know what I mean? Yay, we got the picket fence and house and all this stuff. But I was telling somebody I got to a point to where I didn't want to insert myself around white people anymore. The level of looks that you get, all these different suburban places I've lived, were the first fucking apartment I had. Okay, so I was living in Aurora. I'm looking for an apartment, and I'm looking on the southeast side. So I'm looking Bedford and stuff like this. These are suburbs, but it's suburbs with a significant amount of black people, so you're not going to feel like a minority. I looked at this one place in Bedford. It was all right, but it was like, eh. And I still remember the floors were creaking. And I'm like, why am I hearing wooden floors in this fucking brick apartment building? Like it was just weird. So I had went home, and the guy who owned the building, he ended up calling me because this when it was landlines, and he's like, Did you like the place? And I was like, I don't really like it. And then he was like, well. And he saw that I was living in Aurora, and he was like, "Oh, I live in Walden, which was this development around the corner, another nice like ritzy development." And he was like, "Oh," and this is when I realized people with money too. This dude owned multiple properties. He was like, "I got a place in Parma if you want to look at that." And I was like, I don't really want to go to Parma, dude. But I was like, okay, I'll check it out. It was Brook Park and Tiedemann. Was it Parkview Estate? Something like that, but right behind that speedway. 2-bedroom apartment I got for $4.95 a month. That's how long ago this was. And I ended up moving there. But with that being my first apartment, I remember when I would be in Parma, like the way those people would look at me. And I'm like, dude, I fucking moved from Aurora to come here. I was in a very nice area, and you all are looking at me like I'm shitting on your neighborhood. Fuck you. I'm downgrading moving here. So like that was my first experience with that, and then just other times just being places where people just look at you like, why are you here? So again, long story long, that was one of the reasons I just wanted to move back in Cleveland proper somewhere, because I'm just like, why am I going places where people don't even want you there? Yeah, I mean, part of it is, this is America. I live here and blah, blah, blah. And we should be able to do what we want, which, yes, you should, and blah, blah, all this other shit. But I'm like, and then that's the other thing, too. After a while, I was like, I don't even fucking like the suburbs. You need a car to go every fucking where.
Yeah,
These fucking
sucks.
people got a fucking stick up their ass. Everything is so homogenized that for something to be unique, it's got to, and even then, that's been recopied. So and so bistro and so coffee place. You know what I mean? Like even that has been copy and pasted. So I was just like, I want to move to the city. I want to be in the city somewhere, but I don't want to be some black dude in some place where some white person is looking at me like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? Like, fuck you. I'm too old for that shit.
You know what I learned in this episode?
What?
My nervous system thinks I'm black.
Well, you grew up poor and in the South, so you're like fucking
Because I
Steve Martin in
also
the
I
Jerk.
prefer the city. I don't want anything to do with suburban white people.
And again, it's just that energy. Again, how there's 12 different personalities, and how we talked about like another podcast episodes when you're rich and how isolation just changed your brain.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, you can have a towny brain living in the city too, but like it's just something about like the dick measuring of being in the suburbs, and we got this, and we got a pool, and we're gonna do our cabin, and we're doing this, and if you want just something to eat, you have to get in the car and fucking drive, and the shitty bars and the shitty just everything is just so.
You know what I realized when I was in
Hearing a
visiting
lawnmower every goddamn day.
visiting New York? I realized what I love about cities, like being in the city, is there's so many people, they do not give a fuck what you're doing. Nobody pays attention. The more people are in an area, the less they pay attention, the less they're eavesdropping on
That's
conversations.
the other thing. Like a person who, which is, I mean, a person who's like anxious, self-conscious, like me, or whatever. Like, it's like I could walk down the street naked and no one would give a
they
fuck.
just won't look because they don't want the problem. They don't want it to be their problem.
Yeah, it is something about just,
In the country and the suburbs, those people love for it to become their problem.
oh yeah, that was
They're looking for something to become their problem all day.
before I had a car. When I was living in Aurora, I remember just having to walk to the corner store, and there's no sidewalk, so you know what I mean. You're just walking on the side of the road, and like and everybody who goes past, like just all the cars are just like,
Yeah.
who's this Negro walking on the side of the road? Like,
Oh, they said it.
oh yeah, oh, yeah.
They said it in the car.
But it was just wildly uncomfortable, and that's one of the things I do love about a city. It's just this network of just shit you can access if you have the wherewithal. Okay, I want to go to this store. Okay, I want to go eat this. Okay, I want to go here. Some type of public transit, or at least even the infrastructure for you to walk or ride your bike, or you know what I mean. And again, like hammer nail racism, a lot of the times you don't have this in areas because there's certain people who don't want this to be connected. They don't want certain people to have access to certain areas, and you know what I mean. So
Yeah, redlining and whatnot.
culture shock, America.
Well, yeah, that's our culture shock episode. It turned into us making excuses why we're uneducated.
It's always going to round back to
episode,
that, all right?
but-
It's not our fault we didn't finish high school, and we will reiterate that on every
Yeah.
episode. Maybe if I did, I'd know how to put this Terminator arm back together.
Yes, we will explain why we're just now finding ourselves in our mid 40s
Dude.
every time.
I love how I have that revelation every week. Like, wait,
I should
I didn't have the
this.
social education in high school. This is why I suck at.
A college sophomore learned this the same day I did.
This is why blowjobs were such a big deal to me, because I didn't get any in high school and college. So you're
Yep.
30 and some girl blows you and you're like, I love you.
They're like, this is just called dorm room fun.
Yeah. Oh God.
Um,
It's embarrassing, but what are you gonna do? Thank you guys.
Yeah. At Unfiltered, I just follow the links in the description. Subscribe to the show and come back next week. Thanks.
Deuce.